I bring now my first guest who recently talked with the president directly about the Mueller investigation, and it happened during a golf game, so that's the connection there. South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham is with us now, member of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Great to see you tonight, Senator.
Thank you.
So the president brings this up on the golf course. How does that happen, and what did you tell him?
He said the same thing to me that he says to everybody when he's out in public. He thinks this is a witch hunt. He didn't do anything wrong. I said, Mr. President, I've seen no evidence of collusion between you and the Russians. I don't think you collude with your own government. Why do we think you collude with the Russians? I've been looking at it for 2 years. You just got to be patient and let it run its course, and it will. And we're going to make sure he's treated fairly. And nothing untoward. He didn't suggest anything other than he's frustrated, and I don't blame him for being frustrated. This thing's going on for a very long time.
Yeah, and that frustration played out. I know I've heard you say that it was about 20 or so times that he asked you about this.
I was joking.
Okay.
I was joking.
All right. Well, what did you want him to kind of really hook into as we go forward? Because as I understand it, yes, you've got to be patient, but you said you don't want to hand losses to Republicans. How would that go?
Well, if we shut down the Mueller investigation politically, then it would be the only thing anybody talked about. It would, you know, take off the news all the great things the president's done on foreign policy and domestic. And, you know, let's just let this thing go. If he doesn't issue a report soon, then I hope he'll wait to after the election. Again, I've looked at this thing pretty close. I've seen zero evidence of collusion between the Trump campaign, President Trump, and the Russians. There was an effort to meddle in our election by the Russians. Collusion and meddling are two different things. Trump beat Clinton, not the Russians. And I told the president, you're just going to have to let it run its course. I know you're frustrated, and we'll see what happens here.
Other advice that you might have given him, you know, the big story today is the handing off now, the response, if you will, from the president's legal team, the handing off their list of what they'd like to see as conditions for a sit-down with Bob Mueller. What do you say about it?
Well, we didn't talk about that. And again, the president is frustrated with the investigation going too long. He thinks he did nothing wrong. And, you know, he makes a good point. Look at what they did with the Clinton email investigation. The FBI agent in charge of the Clinton email investigation hated Trump, liked Clinton. Nothing's happened. The FISA warrant came from a document prepared by somebody on the Democratic Party's payroll, and he feels like there's a double standard here. One of the things that we didn't talk about, I didn't know about it until yesterday, apparently about 5 years ago, the FBI told Dianne Feinstein one of her employees may be an agent of the Chinese government. That was the right thing to do, and she fired them. I'm going to send a letter to Director Wray next week and ask him, what is the policy? Why didn't you tell President Trump that you had concerns about Carter Page? Is there a double standard here? If this was a counterintelligence investigation, not a criminal investigation, the FBI should have told President Trump they had concerns about Papadopoulos and Page. Why didn't they do for Trump what they did for Feinstein?
Yeah, I want to step back just a second to Dianne Feinstein. The senator was made aware. She then went on ahead and fired this spy.
Right.
And now you're sending a letter to Christopher Wray. Are you feeling like that needs more investigation right now?
You better believe it.
Okay, what do you want him to do exactly? And do we need to step back even further?
Sure.
Yeah, and take a look at anybody else?
I'm saying, what the hell's going on at the FBI? Why do you tell a Democrat when they hire somebody connected to China? It could happen to anybody's office.
Right.
When the FBI finds out that somebody's working for us, may have connections to a foreign government, they should tell us, and Dianne Feinstein acted responsibly. When it comes to the Trump campaign, why didn't they tell him about Papadopoulos or Carter Page? And at the end of the day, what has Carter Page done wrong?
Senator,
he's still walking around a free man.
When I said step back, Paul Manafort is on trial right now. Why didn't the FBI discuss Paul Manafort with the Trump campaign in more details? I mean, that's what I mean. How far back do we need to go?
Here's the point. A counterintelligence investigation is designed to protect American institutions from infiltration. The right thing for the FBI to do is if they find somebody's working for a political campaign, a bank, or any part of the government, is to inform the people in charge that this person you hired has got unsavory connections. That's what they did for Feinstein. Why did they not do that when it came to Manafort, Gates, and Papadopoulos. Why did they ignore that? If they did have a confidential informant, what did the informant learn about the Trump campaign in Russia? Apparently nothing. Breaking
news with that letter that you're going to give to the FBI director, and I didn't mean to put more names on your list, but as we look at who might have told whom what, those certainly seem like a couple of names that need to be added, as you just said. I want to talk about Iran. I read a statement from you today, and it was one of those things where would it have made a difference a few years ago if the Iranian citizens had somebody to advocate the way you did in this statement? You feel very strongly that this is the time, again, to support any kind of revolution that might pop. What's happening? Why?
Well, President Trump, if you're listening, what you're doing with Iran is long overdue, and it is working. You see this regime for who they are. This is a murderous regime driven by a religious philosophy that will not allow Iran to ever be a peaceful member of the family of nations. The Ayatollah is a religious Nazi. He wants to master religion. He wants to purify Islam and destroy Israel and come after us. World peace and the Ayatollah cannot fit in the same sentence. You got him on the ropes. To our European allies, it's disgraceful that you're picking this regime over the people, that you want to do business with this man who's dismembered the Mideast, openly avows trying to destroy the state of Israel, and it's the largest state sponsor of terrorism. If President Trump will keep it up, European businesses are going to pick our economy over Iran. It's not if this regime falls, it's just a matter of when, if we keep the pressure on, and I think it's working.
You know, this week, the president of Iran said that he wanted to see if we could be sincere, if we were interested in getting another deal. I'm thinking you're not really interested in offering up sincerity. Before I let you go, when you play golf with the president, do you let him win?
I try my best to beat him, I just can't. For me to beat him, he's got to get to be 80, and I got to shoot 80, which is both hard. But he's a gracious host. He's a lot of fun. He's doing a good job. We have a good time. And any deal with Iran that they would honor is probably not worth having. I just want to thank President Trump for resetting our foreign policy, leading from the front, taking on dictators and thugs like the Ayatollah. We're going to bring about regime change without firing a shot.
Senator Lindsey Graham, thank you very much. Great to have you from the great state of South Carolina tonight. Take care.
All right. Thank you.